Evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Smith. I'm the service of mayor of the city of Vader. It's my privilege to moderate this regularly scheduled Vader City Council meeting, and we extend a cordial welcome to all present, particularly for our city council members. We're glad to see that we have a full house. I would note that we have Mike Parsons is with us via a phone call. So, Mike, can you hear us okay still?
Yep.
Perfect. Good to have a full house then. With that, we'll officially call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. On the 14th of March, 2019. With that, we'll proceed with our roll call.
Okay. Judy Costello. Here. Jason Bailey.
Here.
Joe Shy.
Here.
Mike Parsons.
Here.
Leona Sander Hunter. Here. And Mayor Ken Smith.
Also present. Yes. Good. So with that, we'll proceed with our Pledge of Allegiance. I would invite all to please rise. Jason, would you read us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I forgot to mention that we do have a distinguished visitor with us, Kathy Reed, from in her best form, from the Washington State Department of Commerce. We're grateful to have you, and know that you'll be providing information later in our agenda. We'll proceed with the mayor's report. We'll note item number 1 is update on the cell tower light. Thanks to feedback we received from a goodly number of our Vader residents, we did contact the company responsible for maintenance on that cell tower, and they came out after about 2.5 weeks and were able to fix it. So hopefully you've noted that the red lights are flashing.
It's not flashing red anymore.
Oh,
It's back to white.
oh, this was
Yeah, they
2
were having
nights ago.
difficulties with it the other day. So.
Oh, really? Well,
But
that's
they are trying to get it
affecting-
back to red, though.
No kidding.
It's not as bright as it
No,
was.
it's not as bright.
Really? Well, 2 nights ago I noted it was red, so this must be new. That's too bad.
Okay.
Well, we'll get back
Make
on
another
that.
phone call and see where we're at.
At least you could say it's not as bright.
We're just going to cross that one off.
Here. I won't.
You know, the neighbors up there are working.
I was going to make a comment about sharpshooters in our area, but I won't. So, what did you say?
The neighbors up there were in contact with the person that was up there working on the light. So it is something that's still continuing to be done. It's some setting thing he's trying to figure it out.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Okay. Item number 2, I felt it was appropriate at this time to provide an update on our codification effort. You know, we've expended or have allocated $8,900 to codify all of our city ordinances. No small feat. But we're almost done. We should probably finish that shortly, I would say. We have approximately $1,300 left to finish it. We were informed by the company that we're really close. So that's a very positive thing, and will represent a significant step forward for the city of Vader, because all of our ordinances will be in logical order, easily accessed on our website, and the public can find out exactly what information they might want with regard to ordinances.
Will they be in format at all? Paper?
Yes, they will provide at least one written.
Like we can
copy.
come in still and go through it and...
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
handy. So I can report on that. Item 3, you may or may not have heard that we had a power outage a few days ago, about 1 or 2 in the morning. It was apparently a scheduled outage, but it also occurred during when it hit, I think, 19 or 21 that night. So when the power went out, the water froze in the pump, and when it tried to start, it burned itself out in the motor and the aerator. So We're in the process of seeking a solution for that. Bill Wilson, our Public Works or Waste Treatment Facilities Manager, is on it. We're exploring, just so you know, the RMSA, our insurance, because of the nature of the incident. We think it may be covered.
Since it was a scheduled outing, though, shouldn't we have had a person in place to?
We were never notified. They told us it was scheduled,
Yeah, that was their
but they
comment.
never notified us, so we didn't know what was going to happen until after the fact.
Yeah, good catch on that, because it's important to note that had we been informed, it would have been a simple matter to prepare it for it. But anyway, we're in touch with the person at RMSA, and we'll explore our options. But if that doesn't turn out, then we could reach a solution between $900 to $3,600. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted on that. The last thing, which wasn't on there, I felt it would probably be appropriate for those of you who hadn't noticed that my wife and I had made a very difficult decision to put our house on the market. And so we are in the process of selling our home, and we're looking for other property in Lewis County somewhere. So it doesn't mean that I've submitted a resignation letter, because we don't know when the sale might be consummated, but it might behoove council members to consider potential options. So just to bring that to your public awareness. So, with that concludes the mayor's report. Yes.
May I ask for number 5, could you do a report on the trees?
Oh,
Because
yes.
it's spring.
Yes. We have been in contact with the company, and would you like to give them the latest information?
Okay. I've been in contact with them. The trees are not available to be shipped until March 1st, but we passed that deadline. It was my intention to get March 1st. It's past that deadline now. I have missed quite a bit of work due to some personal things, and so I've not got them ordered yet. But thank you for reminding me that I need to do that right away.
They are available in various sizes.
Yes.
May I also add that when you get ready to do it,
Yes, I will let you know who
And-
we're
and-
getting it from and all
and Carol
that.
Broom wanted to
Yes.
get in on the order also.
Okay. I don't know that we can order them together, but we can order them from the same place and order the same items.
Okay.
Well, the city has to order ours and pay for ours separate from.
But maybe we
Private.
could put them in the same shipment. But,
Or write
yeah.
a check to the city so they could put it all on the same check.
Well, the city's not allowed to do that because we're considered a banking institution if we take other people's money and do things like that. So the city's not really allowed to do that.
I'll get with you and we'll talk
Okay.
about how we're going to figure this out.
We'll work it out, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking. That was good. Okay, let's proceed with council reports. Anything from the members of the council? Okay, Judy?
Wonderful. First off, I went and visited the school. Nobody ever goes to the school. So I went to visit the school. There are 15 children, 2 classes, morning and afternoon. You're having a wonderful time up there. Everybody seemed to be very happy. They have new playground equipment coming. She said the 1st of March, which has come and gone. But they were also going to get landscaping. And I'm assuming that it was the new enclosed area on the left-hand side as you face the school. They cyclone fenced that.
Yes, I
So
know.
that was wonderful. So I did not know that, and I thought maybe others did not know it either.
Actually, did they say that reader board? I know that was one of their things. Did they say anything about that?
I actually asked about signage or any of that type of thing, and they said they did not believe they were going to be getting anything other than that one big banner. The next thing I have on
Did
my...
they indicate that there was concern about the
Yeah, I have a
reducing
question.
number of students? Did they mention that at all?
They are not concerned at all. They are They're 15 for those two classes, just makes them very happy.
I was informed by a person last week in the city who had heard that they were concerned about the numbers and may reduce the personnel at that.
Oh no, I was there. Those gals weren't not beat. Everything was good.
Excellent.
Had a visit from the 2020 census. They're now hiring. Go online. The jobs last between 2 and 3 months. They start today, yesterday, whatever, and they'll go until after the census is done in 2020. Pay scale is between $14 to $17 an hour. Hello there. And it could be all kinds of jobs, everything from folding these flyers to whatever. So sharing that. The next thing is our May Day committee met again last night. We'll be meeting every week. Things are going well. We have a lot of things planned for May Day. Our t-shirts are $20 and we would love it if everybody would come buy one of our many hundreds of t-shirts that we have and support our little group.
That's good.
And that's it for now.
Excellent.
Time and day of the May Day meetings?
Oh, we meet every Wednesday at 5 o'clock at the Little Crane
At your
Cafe. And anyone is invited.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other council member reports? Okay, with that, let's proceed with our agenda. Let's proceed with the agenda approval for this evening's meeting. I don't have any modifications or adjustments personally. Yes.
I do, please. I would like to add on item number 5, citywide cleanup for a brief discussion. And item number 6, city business license, brief discussion. Please.
Okay. So 5, citywide cleanup, brief discussion, and city business license number 6.
Correct.
Brief discussion. Okay, we'll wait council action.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for March 14th, 2019 with the addition of item 5 and 6.
Okay. You've heard the motion submitted by Mr. Shy to approve the agenda with the inclusion of items 5 and 6 as noted in the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Daly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. All right. Now minutes approval from our previous city council meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for city council meeting on 1/24/2019 and the city council special meeting on 2/21/2019.
Okay. Mr. Daly submitted a motion to approve the minutes for the meetings identified. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Parsons. Do we have
Problem?
any comments by the council?
Yes, I would like to abstain from voting on the first one for 1/24 because I was not present, but I would like to vote on the second one.
Okay, duly noted. An abstention was noted in the record. So,
How does that work?
she would just
It's
not
not
vote.
necessary for you to abstain even though you weren't here, but if you're not comfortable with
Yeah.
voting, then you don't have to vote, I guess.
Sure, I
No
think-
vote, not voting counts as a no vote, so.
So, okay, with that noted, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay,
No.
that motion is carried. Okay, voucher approvals.
I'll make a motion that we approve the vouchers for the first half of February 2019 at $24,513. The end of February 2019 at $16,196.94 for a February total of 2019 $40,709.94. And the first half of March 2019 $28,091.60.
Okay, Thank you for that. I've heard the motions submitted by Mr. Daly to approve the vouchers as noted. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Costello. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. Now, down to our special reports. We should have a report this evening from Lewis County Sheriff's Deputy. Richardson.
Hello, I'm looking at the agenda now, and it says February and January reports, but I didn't bring January's unless you have them.
They do have them,
Oh.
if you would like to. I didn't know if you were going to talk about that or not, but
I guess now that I think about it, I think you guys had some meeting canceled last month, and
Yes.
we never did them.
We
So
did, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have January's in front of us. You got them there? Oh, perfect. So looks like January we had 225 citizen contacts, 26 traffic stops, 2 felony arrests, a misdemeanor arrest. We had 5 calls, which were actually on our scheduled shifts for Vader, and then 15 calls, which were just various times where we weren't down here, but we responded to. So total of 20 calls there. In February, we had 255 citizen contacts, 31 traffic stops, 1 felony arrest, and 4 calls on shift, 15 which were not on shift, so a total of 19 service calls. So notice I didn't fill that out. Absolutely correct, but I'll change that next time. And I'm still waiting, I know for May Day coming up, Jill and I have had some discussion on the events and the parade, which we'll obviously be able to cover for some traffic control. And I'm still waiting to hear back whether there's going to be a beer garden, whether there's not going to be a beer garden, because that'll probably play into how many people we have down here. We'll have at least a couple down here if there is a beer garden, which it sounds like that's what it's kind of leaning towards. So, yeah.
Okay,
Nothing exciting. That's a good thing.
quiet in the village.
You guys have any questions or any?
All right. Thank you very much for that report. All right, we'll press ahead now with our city business. We felt it appropriate tonight. We've scheduled and planned this agenda item to report on the status of our wastewater treatment upgrade project funding, and have invited Kathy Reed to provide us an update on that.
Since I'm distinguished, I'm going to stand up here.
You betcha. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see everybody. Hi. Happy 2019. So this is exciting for me because I've been down here since 2004, and you guys have done like 5 different facilities plans. We have an approved facilities plan. We have approved design.
Wow.
You applied for ecology funding to construct upgrades to your lagoons, and you have an offer. So the draft offer list is out right now. So you applied for a little over $4.8 million. We were hoping for a 100% grant. We didn't get a 100% grant, but we did get a good offer. We got an offer of a grant of $2.58 million and a loan of $2.27 about. So the loan terms on that are, they're offering a 30-year payback period at 2.2% interest. So it's great terms for a loan. So we're thinking, though, we want to have less loan than that. What might we do? So you may remember that in the past, the city has been eligible for community development block grant money, all grant. And it would be nice to be eligible for that again, because you can apply for up to $750,000 grant. However, according to the latest data from HUD is the parent agency of the Community Development Block Grant money. The new HUD household income data just came out less than a month ago, and you guys do not meet the threshold requirements to be eligible for that funding. To be eligible, at least 51% of the households have to be below 80% of the county's median household income. So 51% is what you're looking for, 51 or above. You guys are, according to the data they have, is 43.7%. Ooh, I like the little ooh after.
I'm turned on.
So it's close, but it's not quite right. Now you can challenge that data by doing an income survey of households, which is not a lot of fun to go, ask your neighbors for, how many people in your house. Really, the questions are, it's not exactly how much do you make, but how many people in your house, and are you above or below this number? There is a new offering, brand new offering from the state CDBG program from HUD, that HUD has a new income survey tool. I do not know what it is. We're just learning about it. But I encourage them to put Vader on the list of maybe guinea pig communities that could have this new income survey tool done here. And I believe Jill's on a phone call about that tomorrow. So she's going to learn a little bit more about it. This is how it would go ideally. You say, yes, we want this done. They explain what the process is. I would highly encourage the city to get the word out to citizens that, hey, we need good response on this income survey. We're trying to show an accurate picture of what the household, the demographic information, the monetary household information is. And the more information we can get, the better. And then they would conduct the household income survey. And then we would hope that you qualify for the money. So we're thinking positive, so let's say, okay, you qualify for the money. The next time that you could apply for that community development block grant funding is in June. The applications will be due June 5th. You can apply for up to $750,000. And I would recommend that you do that if you become eligible. Now, one other thing I should throw in there is I confirmed with the Department of Ecology that if you get additional grant money from someone else, that it'll replace ecology loan, not just replace ecology grant. Sometimes that's the case, but in your case, I have it in writing that any additional grant money you get will reduce the amount of loan that you need to take from ecology. So, what does all that mean? So I did just kind of a couple of quick and dirty estimates of what the debt repayment would be. So let's say you're not eligible for CDBG or you don't get that money for whatever reason, and that you did end up taking the 2.26 million loan at 30 years for 2.2% interest. That's about $104,000 a year that you got to pay back. And what does that mean to your rates? This is very quick and dirty because I couldn't remember exactly how many customers you had, but I estimated 250. If we take 104,000 divided by 12 months, divided by 250 customers, that's about $35 a month per customer.
A month or a billing cycle?
A month.
On top of what we're...
On top of what you ordered.
So 70.
If we become eligible for CDBG and are successful and get $750,000, that reduces the loan amount down to about $1.5 million. So I did the same calculation for that. Ends up that your repayment is about $70,000 a year. So again, I divided that by 12 months, divided by 250 customers. That would mean it's about a little over $23 a month more. So your current rates are 70 for sewer?
78. Is that what?
Yeah, 78.
Okay.
76.
So,
74.
74.
74.
Okay, okay. So those, the worst case scenario, another 35 on top of that. Maybe not 100%.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what's that? 75. So that's $110 a month. So I think we have a really good case to CDBG to try and make it more affordable. But it'll depend on the outcome of that income survey. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I don't pay sewer, so I don't know these numbers, but what do we pay now per month?
$74
Per month. So it'd be 74 plus 35 at worst case scenario?
Mm-hmm.
Plus your usage.
Plus,
No, only if you go over your usage.
Okay, so 74 plus 35, worst case scenario,
109
per month.
per month.
So that's 220 a billing cycle.
So it shows that we need to get more grant funding.
Right, I knew you were gonna ask about that.
Exactly.
So again, just a quick and dirty, it seems like for if you were to get, say, another $150,000 grant to replace some more loan, that would save you another $2.50 per month. So you can plan on that. So where else might you get additional grant funding? You can make a request through one of your state legislators for a direct appropriation or a line item appropriation. That is already, that opportunity's passed for this year. We were talking a little bit beforehand. I think there's an opportunity that you might be able to well, let me talk about timing. The ecology will have their final offer list out later this spring, and the money turns green on July 1st, beginning of the new biennium. And then you get a contract in place with them, you tell them, what you think your final amounts are going to be, all that. We won't quite know that yet. CDBG would be making their funding offers in September. So by fall of 2019, we would kind of know between those two what we have. It would be, so depending on when that is, I think most of the work that you're doing can be done over the winter, but that's going to be up to your engineer and the contractor and all that. And then the next opportunity to request some that legislative funding would be next legislative session, so starting in January. I think the cutoff for it this year was March 1st. There's other cities in Lewis County that are applying for that kind of money right now. Morton submitted a request to help kind of alleviate some of their loan on their sewer project. I think there's a couple others. So we think that you can still apply for that money next year if you got it, still apply it towards the project, but we'll look into it more. So that's one other potential source of grant funding. The other is Lewis County has some sales and use tax money that they get to keep, 0.09% of it. And this is usually for projects that, they could be infrastructure projects, but there has to be some sort of nexus to the economic development. And that funding, I think it's approved ultimately by the county commissioners, but it goes through the EDC. So, and they don't have millions of dollars, they have more on the scale of tens to hundreds of thousands.
Right.
So that would be, another potential source.
Well, they have been supportive in the past of other communities. Do you happen to know how much Toledo got from the 09 funds?
I do not.
Okay. Jill, did we
I
check
don't.
that? My guess is that they may have gotten around $400,000. So let's make note of that.
So that'd be something to maybe be talking to Matt Matioshi about.
Yep.
And then there's other loan programs. I don't really think there's any other program that I am aware of 100% grant. So, just to recap, you have an offer, you have full funding. It's not, we'd like to get the loan amount a little bit down. I think it's worth going through the process to see if you can become eligible for the Community Development Block Grant this spring. If you are, apply in June. That'd be something to get your engineering consultants maybe get on their schedule. Yep, it is. Get everything assembled this summer, and then hopefully be able to construct here either by late 2019 or early 2020.
The question here, if we did get eligible, and I'm pretty confident, but based on feedback we've gotten from previous council meetings, that there are a goodly number of less affluent members of our community who probably have not taken a survey before, who would probably provide a more accurate thing if we can get them to fill the forms out. How much money might be available from CDBG?
$750,000.
So that was the total.
That's the maximum amount you can request from them. And I think you're well positioned that you applied for ecology, you have an offer from ecology. The CDBG money helps you keep your rates affordable for your low-income people, and that's their gray zone death throw.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And what was the number if we got the $750,000? $23 more a month?
And that's rough, because I didn't use the exact
Roughly.
number.
23.
A little over 23.
Mhm. So, and if we get some 09 funds, and here's a question, I'm sure you're thinking, we've accrued about $250,000 in our waste treatment fund. So we can add that to this cost?
Well, it might be in your debt repayment fund, I do not know.
Yeah, part of it is in debt repayment
I thought it
at
was,
least,
yeah.
so I don't know that we can apply it to this, however,
I think
we can look into
I've been led to believe that we could use, maybe other than the equipment maintenance element of it. But, yeah, we'll definitely check that out.
You can use it, sure.
Mhm.
But do you want to spend it up, I guess the question is, do you want to spend it up front
Right.
for capital construction, or do you want to have it in the bank to help you repay the debt? Which could impact your rates, a little bit.
Well, we need to look at the loan agreements and things, because that's one of the things is some of the loans that we already have in place have requirements that we have a certain amount of money set aside for emergency loan repayment, and this new one may also require us to have money in place for emergency loan repayment. So I don't know how much of it, we have to add up, look through the agreements and add up the totals and
Okay.
find out.
I think
Just
there
to know
will
that
be
it's
reserve
there.
requirements. So it's really good you have that saved up, because some communities are in the position where you get the grant and loan, and one of the conditions of that contract is that you have to then establish reserve requirements. You don't have to do them right away, but maybe you have 5 years to build it up or whatever. That's additional rate increase for the reserve requirement increase. So at least you hopefully won't have to deal with that too much. Yeah. And one other thing I just wanted to remind you, that I mentioned at the beginning, this was the 5th plan that we ended up with, and part of that was because ecology was very flexible this time and allowed you to phase this project. So we're talking about phase 1 lagoon upgrades, and then we get it built and we see what kind of water or effluent that is producing. If it's good enough to meet the, what makes Oldclaw Creek happy, great, you can just stay with phase 1. If it does not, though, if it does not adequately treat, I think I remember, temperature or copper and or ammonia, then you may have to institute some phase 2 improvements. And those aren't in this funding at all. But that's a few years down the road. But I just don't want you to think this is the end all be all.
Excuse me,
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
what is the life expectancy of this plant? Is it greater than 30 years, or are we going to be paying on this past
That is
when we have to get a new one?
excellent question. I would say lagoon improvements probably don't last 30 years. So we'd have to go back and talk to your engineer about that.
But they are relining the lagoons. And this system, even though it's failed here of late, it's been in place for almost 50, if I'm not mistaken.
We need to go back and see how long they said it will last. But that's a great question, Mike, because you don't want to still be paying on a loan when you have to build a new plant, 20 years down the road and take on new debt. So I think that's a good question to discuss with your engineering consultants.
Write that down, Mike. Okay.
What are the penalties if we just don't do anything?
Oh, we've been down that road, Mike.
Yeah,
We can't do that.
a
Ultimately,
little late in the discussion.
yeah. So
They built the $10 million option for us.
Right.
Yeah,
Stick it with us.
please.
right.
Yeah.
They can enforce penalties. There can be third-party lawsuits under the Clean Water Act. I think right now you have been under an agreed order for a long time, and that agreed order has protected you from third-party lawsuits.
Now, there are people out there just looking for cities like ours who decide not to do something. And a lot of them are in California, and they would go after the city, take us to court. And then we'd settle out of court.
And make you pay fines that they get, and then that's less money you have to build a plant.
Okay.
I guess I would just say after 15 years of trying to get to this point, it's a good offer. It's a good overall cost. I think it's a good project. Let's keep going and trying to make it a little bit better. And then before you sign on the dotted line, I guess, that's when you could make your ultimate decision.
When is signing deadline?
I think you've signed the ecology contract?
No, the contract we signed was for the design funding. We don't even have the official offer yet. They just have a preliminary draft list of what they think they're going to offer us, which is what we're discussing right now. So it'll probably be in a couple of months, hopefully, that they will have that loan agreement paperwork ready for us to look at and see.
It wouldn't be until after July 1st, I don't think,
Okay.
for the construction.
Yes, for the construction phase.
Elements of the proposal that are up for discussion. Okay, well, Kathy, thank you. You are still distinguished in our eyes.
I just have a quick
would you
question.
counsel?
Oh, yeah.
Go
And
ahead.
I don't know if you'll actually know this or not, just because I'm new to the funds things. And I'm from the park board, and we've been talking about 09 funds and representative funds. Will we be competing for funds if the parks and water, will this be completely are these different line items, or will we be competing for the same money this next year?
With .09, I think it all comes out of the same pot. I don't know if they allocate like X.
I was on the 09 board
Okay.
for a couple of years, and it is competitive. And they like to share the wealth amongst communities. But right now, the mayor...
Waterborne Park, I just want to know what that means for us.
Well, that's a good question.
Okay.
But Matt Matioshi he's on the board, as well as the mayor of Chehalis and Centralia. And they have been very supportive of this community. They're very well aware of the needs. And the county commissioners are on the board too. And of course, they've been plugged in to the city of Vader as well. So, but your point is well taken. It is competitive, but they exist to help communities in those counties. So we can show that this could be the catalyst for commercial and industrial development in our little zone. So we have a compelling case.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. It was a wonderful report. All right, then let's proceed with agenda item number 2. The council hold the first reading of ordinance 2019-02, amending the 2019 budget. During the course of this discussion, we would invite public comment on it as well. It's not a public hearing, but public's comment is welcome.
Excuse me, I have to drive to Moses Lake in the morning.
Oh dear.
I'll see you guys soon.
Bye, Kathy. So, I'd turn this agenda item over to the council members.
So we need to read the
I don't know.
title. Who would you like to have read that, Mayor?
I'll volunteer.
Mayor Pro Tem. Yes.
I'll volunteer. Ordinance number 2019-02, an ordinance of the City of Vader, Washington, amending the annual budget for the City of Vader, Washington, for the calendar year 2019 to adopt job classifications and pay schedule, and directing the city clerk to effect the budget amendment herein provided.
Okay. Any comments?
Did you want want to open that up to the public.
Mhm.
So this is public comment.
Public comment.
Jill might know this one. What did you reduce in the budget in order to accommodate these? Do you have a line item or a couple of line items that you took away from in order to accommodate these?
Do you want me to answer questions during
Oh,
public
and
comment?
how about you? Do you guys know?
Well, it's just public comment. But,
I have no idea, Cindy.
mhm.
And I have no idea what the actual,
Nothing had,
Dollar amount?
I can answer that if you want me to answer that.
Mhm.
That is one I know off the top of my head. We haven't reduced any line items.
Well, it was balanced at one point, the budget was balanced when you guys voted on it, so if you're adding money to it, it has to come from somewhere to balance again,
It's
right?
coming from the bottom line. Yes.
So if you have, rough numbers, $10 and $10, and you add $2 to it,
Yeah.
it's gotta come from something else.
Your bottom, the ending balance at the end of the year, each fund had approximately 1 to 2 months worth of expenditures in reserve.
Okay.
It comes out of that reserve.
Reserve, okay.
Yes.
is that commonly known also as the general fund?
You'll see as you
Consider.
look through here that the current fund, how much is coming out of the current fund, and how much is coming out of the street fund, and how much is coming out of the sewer fund. If you look on page 2, it's all laid out there.
Do you also know the percentage of that, you had 2 months on reserve, how much did we lose on that? I mean, I know it's 9,000
I don't
total.
have that
Okay.
information in front of me.
Yes.
My brain just went, you're taking something out of the sewer fund?
Huh?
Here we are, that's what she just
To
said.
pay the sewer guy.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay.
his
Because
service.
it's like, wait a minute, we're here.
Yeah, don't worry, don't worry.
You gotta pay it out of the right
My
fund.
brain just went,
Yeah.
hold for it.
I can imagine.
Sorry.
No, no.
Thank you.
No problem.
It is additional money though.
Oh, I know.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. So, with that, I know that the council has been engaged in a lengthy and detailed discussion about that particular amendment item. So this is the official document that would make this official. So,
That's all we have to do today. We don't need to pass
so we
anything.
don't need to vote on it or anything. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Any other council thoughts? We will be on our next council meeting agenda. So with that, let's go to item number 3. Council to continue discussion of options for a code enforcement officer. Now, this has to do with the individual who made the city of Chehalis aware that he was interested in it, and they suggested I could reach out and talk to him or contact him. But I did get information on him, but he resides in Battleground area. So as I deliberated on the feasibility of it, I dismissed it. He's an elderly gentleman. So I didn't feel that it was worth an option that would be worth pursuing. So as far as I'm concerned, we'll just maintain the status quo. That's my latest input on that. So from my perspective, our services are being well addressed. He's responsive to our concerns. So that is where I sit on this particular council topic. If the council members have any thoughts, otherwise,
Doesn't our sewer guy come from Vancouver?
Yeah,
Where does the current guy come from, Olympia?
up in that area.
How far is that?
It's
50
about
miles?
50 miles,
And Vancouver is, Battleground is 40.
about the same. But his age, and I took that under advisement.
What do you call an elderly, mister?
About my age. So,
But feasibility on cost though, was he cheaper or?
I didn't talk to him. Yeah. There were other elements of his background that I would prefer not to mention, but I have the record if council members want to see it. We were having insurmountable issues with the person. I'd pursue it a little more aggressively, but I'm not inclined to do it. The council members have my ear, so if you want more effort on it, I'll certainly do it. You have a comment from the public?
What about just on the basis of cost? Because the one up north is costing us more than our permit. So what about just on the basis of cost? If we can find somebody a little less expensive, doesn't cost $150, $200 every time he pops into town.
Well, the cost is obviously always an issue involved. But my experience in this is that this individual is actually giving us a significant cost reduction over normal services. So until I can see evidence to the contrary, from my perspective, we're actually getting a bargain.
But you didn't ask the other guy about cost.
Because there were other elements of his background. Just didn't want to take under consideration. Another comment? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on that because being that my husband used to run the water here, we also got mixed because of cost. But one of the things people don't, there's so much more of that. He did a lot of things for the city that nobody even knew that he did because we were a community here and
so
we did
true.
it for free. So the bottom line cost does not exactly mean the difference. He did a lot of late night call outs, a lot of things that no one charged for just because we
Thank
lived
you,
in the
Stephanie,
town.
for mentioning
So
that.
that makes a difference, not just your parameter.
Great.
No, he kind of wasn't about here.
So, okay, then that's the latest, and I welcome any feedback from council members.
You're still open if we come up with something else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to item number 4. Council to continue discussion of senior, disabled, and low-income sewer rates. I think we've had this on the agenda for the past several months. I'm hoping that maybe we can reach some conclusion to this. So I turn it over to the council. Did you have any information you wanted to share at the outset of this?
Well, I can say that council at our last meeting where we discussed this topic asked to see Lewis County's application, which is what's provided here. I again provided the income limits chart that we use for determining, under the way the city is set up right now, who qualifies. And I think where we're at, if I'm not mistaken, is trying to determine, does the city want to include permanently disabled people in our low income, for this low income consideration on the sewer bills? And do you also, was there any desire to change where the line is drawn as far as the income requirements? Did we want to keep it at the very low 30%, or did we want to bump it up to the low or to the moderate or whatever? So those were the two things that I was hoping to hear from council or have a decision from council on this. And once those are made, if you guys decide to make any changes, then I would take that back to City Hall and we would put together the changes in the ordinance and present it to you in ordinance form, whatever changes you're suggesting.
There were a couple of things on Lewis counties that I liked. I liked their description at the bottom of what low-income senior citizen resident customer, and I liked the terminology of totally disabled. And then also, I would like to see us at not the very low, but the low. And I don't know what that means. Financially right now, if you're very low and you're at that 13,650, you're only getting $19. I think it was a total of what, $40? Tammy and I calculated today.
Off of the
Yeah,
rate.
at $158 for your sewer bill, it would be $119 for the very low. That doesn't seem like much. I know it's a little, but it just doesn't seem like much. And the rates are going to keep going up.
So that would be an additional aspect, is do you want to make any changes to how much of a discount people who qualify get? And so if we know this information, what changes, because we're going to have to look at the impact on the rates, because whatever reductions we give means that the regular ratepayers have to pick that up. So, you know what I mean? So we need to look at what that impact is, because we've got to be able to make, you know, the amount of money that we need. So if we do change any of these things, it's going to have an impact on how many. The idea is that more people will be getting a discount, and so we'll have to look at what those numbers look like and what that will mean for regular ratepayers. And so that's why these decisions are important. If you guys aren't 100% sure, but you want to see, what do we think is going to happen? I have no idea how many more people will qualify if we change this.
Right.
I just have no idea. We'll have to try to reach out and see if we can find some numbers somewhere that might help us determine how many more people will qualify. And if we can't come up with a number, we may have to just try to make our best guess estimate.
Right now, we're only dealing with 6.
Will the county, you think the county would be receptive if we asked how many people in town qualify for their
They
reduced
might be
rate?
able to tell us how many of their customers qualify for the low income. Yeah, because they are at the next higher rate. I believe they are at the low versus us being at the very low. They may be able to tell us that, because if we kind of do the same thing, they should be, that's a great idea. They should be able to give us some kind of an idea what that would look like. And then at that point we can
that
use...
survey in June? Can we do that, hopefully do that survey in June?
Oh, he's talking
The
about
survey in
That's a different
June,
thing, Mike.
it may be helpful, but like Kathy was explaining, that survey is basically you're asking people, does your household make above this number or below this number? So we won't be getting exact numbers of what we just know, will it be more than or less than? So it may be helpful depending on what that number threshold is. I don't know.
I'm not sure that they would disclose the individual information. Like
No, they
that, so-
wouldn't, but it would give us an
We don't
idea.
need the individual information, we just need a
Big numbers.
finished number.
Yeah, a total number would give us an idea what percentage of the community is at this level or
Okay,
below.
yeah,
So it may be helpful at that point, but we don't know until we know more about the survey itself.
Have a comment from the public?
Oh, Joe beat me to it. I was just gonna say that Lewis County already should have that number if they will disclose it.
Okay.
Whoever's applied for
Well,
Vader.
that's definitely something we could dig into there.
And then we could see what kind of impact that would have on the rates.
Yeah.
So if that's what you guys are leaning towards, we could provide that. Or you have
It'd be nice to see the numbers. I know that I'm 100% on adding the totally disabled persons onto here.
Okay.
I'm on the fence with this. I mean, especially when we have this huge project coming up, and this many people that take on the costs. Not that we need to charge the very lowest income people anymore, but
And I think at one time we talked about having something on our sewer bill that said if you would like to donate an extra $2 or $3 to the fund. When we were talking about this before.
Yeah, the idea of that, I know Olympia or Tumwater does that. We'd have to find out how we'd have to set that up and how we would have to care for that money, how we would have to decide who gets it and all that. We can that's something that we would have to, again, look into finding out.
Member of the public?
Didn't Mrs. Reed say something about 43% were low income? Isn't that, she'd give that number?
47.
47.
No, it's
That's
way
right.
way above.
So is that below, is that low income that she was talking about, or?
Yeah. That was
I
another-
think that was 43% or below. I'm not positive if it's the moderate or the low that she was stating, and I don't know if it's.
Yeah, it's a,
think you said moderate.
Yeah, this is the HUD CDBG numbers that they would be
Which is lower
going off.
than your regular cost.
But we don't know what 43% of is what.
Yeah, we're not sure what 43% of 43% of what.
She said low income, we just don't know if it's
Yeah.
low or very low.
Yeah. So we can find out more of that too.
Mike, did you have something to say?
No, I believe that she said it was the moderate income, or the medium
43%
income
moderate.
was the 43%
Yeah,
that we were above.
yeah, I think you're right.
But we know that 43%, or we presume that 43% is not accurate. We presume the number is much higher than that. Which is why we're doing the income survey.
What happens to the price hike? Say after low income people get hit with so much, they decide to move to another town. What happens to the rest of us that are here, that are paying?
No property.
Hopefully they move out and someone that can afford it can move in.
Well, if they want to move to Toledo or Winlock,
Yeah.
I think they'll
We're
discover
all in
that.
the same boat around here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's the tough part of having a small rate base is
The
the impact is
Toledo's
higher.
waste treatment, it cost them $9.5 million, and Winlock's was $16 million. So
Yeah, but Cy Myers messed that up,
Yeah.
so that was on him.
but you get to pay for it.
Well, in the same way, if we lower or change this, then the rest of us are gonna have to make it up
Yeah.
too. So, I mean, it's
It's
just a
catch-22 all
it is.
around.
It absolutely is. Absolutely is. We don't have any idea
I say, but even your lower income doesn't mean that
what our number would be.
if they're not
What our
on
number
Social
would be,
Security,
which number do you
That's
need?
still
what-
have to be
Hold on,
qualified.
she needs to wait.
You're right.
Well, we don't have any number, idea of knowing how many other people are out in our community right now that would qualify.
No, but
If we
I
move
think
that.
Joe's idea is good
To
to check
look
with
for
the
that.
county
Okay.
and see what we can find
Okay,
out.
okay.
Because we could probably, if we have ours at the same level, we'll probably have the same number of people, so.
Well, could you do that? Could you try to get
Yeah.
that number and then maybe run an initial assessment on how that might affect our sewer rate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do we agree that we like the terminology part to be put on our form?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to differ from the county. Makes it easier on the folks that are trying to apply as well if it's the same.
We don't have to send it to our attorney to get the wording right. It's already worded.
Well, I think we do need to have a review because there's one thing just because they're the county doesn't mean they always do everything right, so. That's one thing we find. So we just have to check, run it by her and see if she has any other issues. But I would probably wait to run that by her until we know what we want to do here,
Yeah.
because then we can have her do it all at one time and that'll be more cost effective.
When we run it by the attorney, could we tell her she has to keep it within that 1 page?
I will do my best. We'll do our best.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, even though the 43% of the low income, if we stay with the requirement of the fully disabled Social Security, that's gonna be something they have to meet too, so it won't be as bad.
Okay. Well, excellent. Then I think we've got some marching orders here. We're comfortable with that. We'll continue to keep this on the agenda. All right.
We'd
Well,
like to see that next time.
yes, we will be. Hopefully we can get that information.
Yeah, I think we should be able to.
Okay, well, let's jump to item number 5, the citywide cleanup.
Oh, yes.
Discuss that.
Yay. I need to stand up.
Go for it.
find it very difficult to see all of my fellow council people when I'm sitting way over here. I can't see your faces. Okay, first off, Lewis County Solid Waste had a grant, which I applied for in January. And with the help of Cindy, we wrote a really nice cover letter and page, and we got the grant. The grant was for 2 20-foot containers for household garbage and limb debris, each amounting to 2,000 pounds each, so a total of 4,000 pounds. I, however, did not realize that it did not cover the container rental, pickup, and delivery back to Lewis County. After researching this, I find that each one of those containers cost $400 a piece. What I would like to know is, would my fellow council people be willing to buy in to cover the cost, which would be $400 for one container, and then I will raise money and get donations for the other container of $400.
Is this the bringing them here and then taking them away?
It costs mileage to get here, and then the rental, I wanted to rent them for 3 days, so there was so much a day to rent them, and then mileage to come pick them back up. And then when they get to the dump, then the grant covered the dumping of it.
There's
Help me.
Go ahead. I think there's funds we can just go ahead.
We're not allowed to make decisions on money items that have just been added to the agenda. You have to have it published first.
Okay,
That's one thing I've learned in the last couple of weeks.
Okay, I did not
You
know
have
this.
to publish it first before, so at the next council meeting, they can make a decision.
And I'm asking you in ample time. We are 6 weeks away from this. This is a big cleanup, so this would be very.
$400 is within the mayor's purview, so I guess if council wanted to let the mayor know their opinions on it after the meeting, then he could make an informed decision, because he would have it within his purview to make that.
It would be really helpful. I've researched out a couple other options, and they're not quite working as well as it would be to set these 2 containers and let the public come and put their things in there.
Are they going to be in front of your house? Or?
They're going to be on my property next door where I took the trailer down.
Oh.
And then we're going to have them both landed there. I will be over there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, monitoring it, making sure it's Vader people. No tires or batteries, the stupid stuff in there.
The metal, would you have a
Oh,
separate?
and then for the metal, I have a volunteer list of 17 people right now with trucks and trailers. And we will be going, and we've already started this, we will be going street by street and door to door, picking up old appliances, scrap metal, anything and everything, and we're cashing that in. We're actually going to get money for that. And then I'm going to give that to the Beautification Club. And they're going to spend that on flowers and bark for the community. So it's a win-win for everyone. Right now on my list I have a dryer, a refrigerator, an old stove, a hot water tank. I've got tons of cardboard to pick up, newspaper. I've already had people calling in and giving me their address and what they've got. So, and I've started it already. I didn't want to wait till just that week of the 15th through the 20th and put everything in there. So I think it's a win-win if I can impress upon you about helping me out with the cost of the actual containers.
I don't think that's beautiful.
And old abandoned vehicles too?
Oh, I must report on that. I'm really happy to say, as of today, there possibly may be, hold your hat, Jason, there may be 7 old vehicles and 1 motorhome leaving our community on their own accord.
Really?
Yes, I'm very, very pleased to hear that. And they've promised to come and let me know the minute the man comes.
No kidding. Wow. Okay.
And two of our residents, these are just because they saw the flyer. So we're all good on that. I think there'll be more.
That's impressive.
So I think there'll be more, so.
Thank you. for that.
Anyway, that's my report,
Excellent.
and if anybody has any questions, happy to help you. Thank you so very much.
Well,
And I'm asking all the council people to help me and be a volunteer if you're available. Mike is committed to Saturday,
okay. All right, well,
so put that on the calendar.
okay.
$400 seems like pretty inexpensive
Yeah.
code enforcement
Totally.
related expenditure.
Absolutely. So I sense the coalition of support from the council. Okay, duly noted. Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Item number 6. City business, brief discussion.
This is our business license thing. I put this last because this is a little touchy. Okay. We have, I'll just start the conversation on it, just because I know no other way to do it, so bear with me, okay? We have someone in town who needs a business license and won't come in and get it, doesn't have one, hasn't had one, we all know who it is operating a business that's just obscene, obnoxious, and crazy, okay? And we have our new business thing in effect now, and that person needs to be addressed, and like I said, we all know who it is. However, 2 of our citizens got letters stating to come in and get business licenses, and they haven't had businesses. One of them hasn't had a business for 20 years. So I'm questioning the logic. And one person, I know.
I can answer your question.
And one person doesn't even live in Vader. They actually live in Seattle and have a business license and actually bought one, and I can't figure out why. So,
Okay.
and before
They paid for a business license even though they don't have a business here? Well, that's wrong.
I know, and I didn't get to them, and they came in and they paid it, and they said,
we
Judy,
can-
that's
we
really
can
a
fix
different
that.
thing. So
We can fix that.
I know that can
That's
be
wrong.
fixed. However, may I impose upon you to have the other person who got the letter stand up? Is that okay if she can stand up and talk to you about her letter, her business license letter that she got?
Okay. Can I give an explanation first?
I'm totally confused about what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Well, my accomplishment is we have people sitting right here in town that don't have business license that needs to be addressed. And we're sending letters
They are
out,
being addressed.
but we're sending letters out to people that haven't had businesses.
Let me explain. Let me explain.
This
So-
is kind of a strange approach to the situation.
This could have been handled in there just fine, but that's all right. What has happened is we don't know who has businesses and who has a new business or an old business. The only way that we have to check that at City Hall, your administrator, is to go on the website, the state website, the Department of Revenue, and see who is listed as having an active business in the city limits. So we get this huge long list. And if you have ever had a business license in the city of Vader and you move away, if you do not cancel that through the Department of Revenue, it will show on there forever. We have no idea which ones are currently active and which ones are active. There are some that we go, okay, we know this person doesn't live here anymore. We know they moved to Timbuktu. We know about them, so we cross it out. So we don't send them a letter. The ones that we're not sure of or that we can't get a hold of people or whatever, they get the letter, and the letter says, if you have a business, you need to get a business license. These are the regulations. There's nothing in there demanding that you get a business license
Nor did I
and do it no
say
matter what.
that.
I'm just letting you know that it's not a rude letter in any way. It's just saying, hey, we show on the state website that you have an active business license through the Department of Revenue. So if you do have a business, come in and get your license. This is the regulations. If they call us, we've had several people call us and say, hey, this was 20 years ago. I haven't lived there forever. We go, great. We check them off. We don't need to worry about it. But there are some that are like, oh, I didn't know I needed a city one. Okay. And they actually do have a business here and haven't gotten a business license. So there's some of both. So I don't know how else to do that. But now we at least have a master list so that the people that do respond and talk to us about it, we can check them off and say, people don't know that you're going to be shown as having an active business license at this same address unless you go in and do the paperwork to have it closed. And we asked the same questions. We got to sit on hold at Department of Revenue for 45 minutes waiting to talk to somebody and ask them, what's up with this?
Yeah. And
then they were able to explain that to us, that it doesn't go away unless the person goes in and specifically does that. So how else are we supposed to know?
Sure.
So we just send them out to everyone.
I hope that clarifies. It's kind of an awkward and discomforting implication that there is maybe some impropriety going on. But since we have comments, council, right here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I know I have an active one, but I no longer run the business, so just go ahead and mark me off.
Did you get a letter?
No, I'm just saying some future reference.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Thank
have an
you.
active business license, I didn't get a letter, so
Okay.
I'm not sure how your process goes, but there's a flaw.
that
Yeah.
very well could be.
Yeah,
All we have is what's on public record from the Department of Revenue.
It's still a flaw.
at least we have that. But, yeah, this is awkward, but inquiry is good. I mean, this is how, when we learn stuff, we try to be responsive. So.
It has to show that your business is based out of Vader in the city limits.
May I, without just getting into this anymore, and or any of that.
I don't mind questions.
Does it say on the site
Public comment.
that you have your business in Vader? Does it say that on the
It
site?
says that the address for the business is in Vader. That's how it came up.
Okay,
Was by
that's no
saying
problem.
Vader.
Okay, I'm happy to end the conversation.
Perfect. Well, and thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, no problem.
If you can let us know who got one in error,
They're
then
on public comment.
Okay.
I will wait.
Sounds good.
I will wait. Oh,
I just want to let you know Ross McDowell, he doesn't
He's
live
not
here
here
anymore, so he doesn't need one either.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my business partner, so.
Perfect.
We don't seem to have that one on our list, so.
Okay. This is good. Inquiry is always good. If you have thoughts and questions, concerns, council members can bring it up in council meeting, or you can talk to the office administration with such things too. All right, well then let's proceed with our public comment.
Okay, we have two people. Lyndon Newton is first.
I received one of these letters. I'm very upset about it because I feel that I was covertly investigated and my integrity was under attack behind my back when one telephone call to me would have cleared it up. So I have this letter. It says to Fantasy Frostings, which was out of business in 1998. I started in Vancouver and moved it up to Ferndale, Washington. It's been gone since 1998. I started a bed and breakfast out in Skamakawa, Wahkiakum County. In the year 2000, got flooded out, was out of business in 2003. Have not been in business since then. It also says Family Craft Center. Who cooked that little business up? Has nothing to do with me. And the UBI number, if they would have done their whatever correctly, They keep those numbers on file so that they don't give that same number out to somebody else. So the numbers are on file. It does not mean you are conducting business. I'm upset about this. I really am, because I really feel that this was a waste of wages here. It was a waste of paper, ink, postage. Not everybody on the list got a letter. It seemed like we were chosen by I don't know what category or why. Who pointed the finger at me? Why? I don't know. But like I said, I feel my integrity has been under attack on one phone call, and I would have said, no, I don't have a business here. And because of this, I was thinking about starting a business in Vader. I may not, because if the community and the city council and the city is going to treat business people like this, why would I want to start a business here? Why? And this was signed by you and by you, Mr. Mayor. So you can't say you didn't know about it. And I've got the letter right here. I'm upset about it.
I'd love to see that. I actually don't recall signing it, but
Your signature's on here.
wouldn't doubt it. Okay.
Like I said, it to me was a waste of employee wages, paper, ink, and postage.
Your signature's on the ordinance, but not
On the letter.
I printed it on the letter. My signature's on the letter.
I don't see my signature. I don't recall seeing this, to be honest with you.
It's
But,
the same letter we send out every year, yeah.
I see. Just
First
one.
one I've ever gotten, and I've been here 11 years.
Well, duly noted, the public comment isn't intended for rebuttal and
Well, I
discussion.
understand that, but like I said, I feel my integrity has been attacked
Okay.
behind my back.
Okay.
Because
So
they,
just know that.
and that's because we asked if you had a business.
They send me all this ordinance papers and all this kind of stuff. There's people around here running businesses that never got one of these letters.
Yeah.
Now, how did I get singled out?
Well,
I'm not running a business here.
Okay. Well, the time is up, unfortunately, but this is a topic I'd love to talk to you about, sincerely. So let's.
Well,
let's
thank you for your
set a
time and hearing me.
You
I
betcha.
just wanted
Thank
you to
you.
know how I feel.
Yeah, but no, yeah, we'll talk to you about it. Sure.
Thank you.
All right, next.
Cindy Radcliffe.
Cindy Radcliffe, 1027th Street. I want to talk about the black hole. We haven't talked about it in a while, and it's getting bigger, it's getting deeper. You guys talk about things, and things that really matter to the people of town don't seem to ever get done. And it's just like tonight you were talking about the senior disabled low-income sewer rates. That's great. I hope you guys actually do that. But you've been talking about it for months. This is not rocket science. We're not putting anybody on the moon. Let's just pick a number and go with it. The stick pile. Have we forgotten about the stick pile? People are cutting their trees down or cutting them back, and yet we haven't picked a spot to put some sticks. You identified a couple spaces, but then it just went away. It went into that black hole. Overweight vehicle limits. Right now, people really aren't supposed to have rock delivered onto the back streets. You guys started talking about that, but then you dropped it and never went anywhere. That would be nice if you would at least amend that ordinance so people could have rock or whatever delivered to their house without knowing that they were actually breaking the ordinance. Office hours for the city people in there. 16 hours a week, we can do better than that. Can we at least do the 28 that the other lady sits in there? I mean, 28 hours a week shouldn't be that difficult in order to have people be able to come to town. I wanted to come down here today. I called, I told Tammy I was going to come down, got busy doing other things, and then it was 1:30. Well, I can't come down here and pick up what I wanted to pick up. It's after 1 o'clock. Can we change the hours? And these are easy stuff. None of this stuff costs money. None of this is going to come out of the budget. It's easy things that we can get done if we just put in the work and make a decision. The town hall meetings. Mr. Parsons had one, and it's a good idea, and maybe we can get social media involved, Skype or FaceTime or whatever people do with that sort of thing. But it was just dropped, and it's not on the agenda again to have another one. People on social media really do care, and they do give their comments. Sometimes you don't like them, sometimes you do. But I think it's good to get the citizens involved, get their input, find out what they're thinking. You five represent these people. And other than maybe Mrs. Costello or Mr. Daly, you don't know them. You don't know your neighbors. You don't know the people in town. Those two are probably the only ones that really interact with them. And it's necessary. You represent these people, get to know them, find out what they want. The cameras, we're supposed to have cameras put up. That was like a year and a half ago. Mr. Parsons was going to facilitate that. That went away. I mean, this list could go on and on. The school zone, speed limit. I had a mother talk to me the other day, said, what happened with putting a speed limit out there? Is anybody doing anything about that? You know, again, social media. There's nothing wrong with using it. The president, the Congress, the representatives, the House, all of them use Twitter and Instagram and I don't even know the names anymore, but all that stuff to communicate with the citizens. We can do better in getting this information out to them and getting the information back. So I would like these black hole topics revisited. Let's talk about the stick pile again. Let's talk about these things and get some things that doesn't cost any money finished.
Excellent. Thank you for that input. Alrighty. Then with that, we're at the point where now you note that we have a new addition to our agenda. If there's an elected official who'd care to make a comment now, there's an opportunity for them to do so.
Oh, on anything?
On anything, and that's without interruption. It's just an opportunity to provide comments that you may have heard.
Okay.
Yep.
I personally would like to provide Mrs. Radcliffe at least 50% of the answers at our next meeting of some of the questions that she has.
That's an excellent suggestion.
If people come to talk to us and they ask us something and they want to know something, it is... I've been over there recently, folks, and it's really, really bad to go home and feel like you have been here all night long and your voice just went up into the air. We don't talk to them, so they don't know what we're thinking or that we actually are going to look into what they said or whatever. And I think it's really good that we do that.
Excellent. Okay. Any other council comments that you care to share?
Does Mike plan to do the town hall meetings again? He seemed to
Mike,
do
did
that.
you want to elaborate on the latest status of the town hall meetings?
The town hall meetings can be done by any of us, and I just haven't had the availability, but I plan on doing another one shortly, hopefully the next month or so.
So they haven't disappeared.
No, it's just busy life.
Okay, that's good. So, did we capture some of the? We can get.
And I also on the Facebook said if anybody has any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask me there on the Facebook because we weren't able to have the last town hall meeting, but I didn't get any questions or any concerns or anything. So.
Well, Mike, a really good idea might be to Skype. I thought that was a good suggestion.
But yeah, when we have a town hall meeting,
Right.
we can do a Skype.
Right.
But most people don't want to see my face anyway.
I'm sorry.
I've been to two, and there was very few people there.
There's only
Actually,
been one.
That was a joke.
There's only been one.
well, they had two,
One was
right?
canceled.
The second one was canceled
Yeah.
because of the snow.
Yeah, the second one was canceled during that snowstorm.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then if there is no other council comment, then we'll. Mike, did you have anything else you wanted to make a comment about? Hearing none. This council meeting is adjourned at 7:24 p.m.